Hi, my name is Richard Idar, and I'd like you to meet my medical assistant, Ricky. Ricky, can you please go into the waiting room and take a manual blood pressure for my patient?
I can't. I don't know how to. I only know how to use the automatic blood pressure machine.
Wow, well, that's a problem. Thank you. The scene that was played out here, unfortunately, is a scene that plays out many, many times in the clinics that I work at. It was brought to my attention, to the training department, that the MAs, because they were so reliant on automatic blood pressure machines, were unable to take manual blood pressures. So there was a gap in skills. So the first thing I had to do was to actually convince the people requesting training, which was the doctors, the nurses, the clinic administrator or the clinic manager, and the medical director, that a needs analysis needed to be conducted. Now, it seems kind of simple and very basic that, well, if the medical assistants don't know how to do something, then we need to provide training. But that's not always the case. So I convinced them to conduct a needs analysis. So how did I go about doing that? Okay, first thing I did was I looked at the requirements to become a medical assistant here in the state of Texas and the state of Florida and the state of Arizona. Because we have clinics, and this training, if needed, will be deployed to these three locations. So I went to Arizona, Florida, and Texas to the medical assistant website and saw that each state requires the medical assistant to take a manual blood pressure. So it is a requirement of the state that each medical assistant works in to be able to perform this task. The next thing I went to was to go to HR and pull the job descriptions. What does my company require the medical assistant to do? They too require that whatever state and federal requirements of an MA also is required to work at my medical clinics. So therefore, it is also a employee requirement to be able to take a manual blood pressure. So the last place I went out to was to go out to the clinics. Why are the MAs not being able to perform these skills? And how important are these skills? Are these skills vital? Yes, they are a requirement of the state. They are a requirement of the company to work there. But what are the requirements at the clinic? So the first place I stopped to was talk to one of the doctors. And of course, the doctor was very adamant that the medical assistant be able to take a manual blood pressure, for the simple fact that the automatic blood pressure machines are not always accurate. They don't always work. And so a manual blood pressure, especially if the patient is going to some type of medical emergency, needs to be taken immediately. And if the medical assistant doesn't know how to take a manual blood pressure, then the doctor cannot diagnose the patient correctly. So now we're also bringing patient safety into the picture. Because if an MA doesn't know how to take a manual blood pressure, then we have a medical problem. As far as the the administrator goes, the administrator, for productivity and getting patients through, again, very important that the MA be able to take a manual blood pressure. Excuse me. And then, in talking to the MA themselves, because they had the automatic blood pressure throughout all their clinical training, as well as at our place of employment, they became reliant on the automatic blood pressure machine and have kind of lost those skills. So I then determined that yes, we needed to provide some type of training. What kind of training? Well, as we kind of looked at the overall picture, where we had to train, how much it was going to cost if we took a instructor to go to each of the spots, we determined that it would probably be better to have some type of computer-based training, which I am in the process of developing a self-study simulation of how to take a manual blood pressure in order to correct these skills. What did I learn from this process? I learned that, for one, it is very important to conduct a task analysis. Many times, training requests come to the instructional designer, and it is expected that the instructional designer develop either instructor-led training or some type of computer-based training, and that's not always the case. Maybe it's cost-effective to do a job aid, or to provide a handout, or to maybe give them a brief video. But it may not always be the case that training is needed, and that can't be determined unless a needs analysis or a task analysis is conducted. Time, of course, is always the essence, and money is always at the front of every training budget. But in order to do correct training, in order to provide efficient training, that task analysis, while it may take an extra bit of time, is very important, which is the first part of what I've learned in this course. Is a needs analysis definitely needs to be conducted. In order for you to conduct that needs analysis, you need to have a great relationship with your client. Your client has to trust you and have confidence in you to know that you will provide them the best training, or whatever the task analysis determines, which will be the best for the client. So if you do the task analysis and say, I just need a job aid, the client has to be able to trust you. One way that they trust you is they find out what type of experience do you have. Going to George Washington, telling them that you have taken these type of course and have this kind of training from a credible university goes a long way. I learned that at my place of employment. I tell them, hey, I'm going through this. I can show them the books and the readings that I've done. And it builds their confidence, like, oh, he definitely knows what he's doing. And that trust is established. That foot in the door is established. And then when you can back it up with either great training or a very detailed analysis of what you've found out, then that trust is even cemented in stone. They really begin, and then they don't want to go to any other instructional designer but you. So you have to be careful how independent or how good you are, because they'll just pile more and more things on you. So the two big things that I've certainly learned is, one, again, task analysis needs to be conducted. And in order for you to conduct those task analysis, you have to have a great client relationship, because if not, they will want to bypass that task analysis portion and go straight to the training, and you may not even need it. So I hope that you take these two pieces of advice as you go out to do your task analysis and you talk to your clients. Please express to them the importance of doing task analysis. Thank you.